7 lengths in front. War can't pick him up. He's at Frankel. He gets an immediate response. The champion starts to draw away.
And a very warm welcome to the Barstewards Inquiry Day 3 review of the Royal Meeting. Myself, as always, sat here with me is John Lang of John Joe's Blogspot on Facebook. And my name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk. Well, John, Day 3. Any better for us?
It's been a long week and it appears to be getting longer.
Yeah.
Dreadful day for me today. Absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it yesterday though, that when you don't get going at this meeting, when you don't get off to that nice start, I always think it makes the rest of the meeting harder. I don't know why. It might be just me. I mean, that's how. Whenever I start a festival off badly, I can't remember many festivals where I've turned it around.
No. I think psychologically the races just start to look harder and harder, don't they? And then you sort of convince yourself that the bookmakers are having your eyes out because you're not getting 7-1 about the 5-2 favourite that you fancied in the big handicap and things like that. You know, it all becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and then you're thinking, well, the draw's knackered in it. I'm going to back one each side, you know, and you end up diluting the occasional winner that you have because you split your stakes. And, you know, you just make stupid decisions, don't you?
Yeah. Which brings us on to the first question then. One of our avid listeners, Rob Jackson, he sounds in a bit of despair today, and we've all been there. He says, "Hi guys, any tips on how to improve my form?" John?
Plenty of gin would probably help.
It helps me.
You know, sit there with a gin, a bong, and hope for instant enlightenment. It's just tricky, isn't it? You know, I mean, it can be a really hard meeting, and if you don't get off to a good start, sometimes you feel like drawing stumps, and it's not always a bad decision. You know, you don't have to keep plugging away for 5 days and keep getting your nuts kicked in. You know.
I mean, all I can say to Rob is that, I mean, doing this for a living is you go through the same as what any recreational punter will go through, where you can do nothing right, things keep getting chinned. I mean, for example, Carder today at Britannia, I had a good bet to cover all my win stakes on 6 places on the exchanges. Where did it finish? 7th. And this is the kind of like mental torture you have to endure, and it's a shame, Rob, that the weather isn't constant for the rest of the week, because I'm pretty certain that you could back anything front end and stand side. Because as we've seen today, John, if you get handy and front on that stand side, they ain't getting to you.
They're not getting any purchase, are they? You know, I think
the
running orders more or less staying the same.
Very difficult to make ground.
Yeah. I don't think pace is even much of a factor. We're getting these sort of American dirt races where you jump out and whoever's leading into the clubhouse turns winning it.
Yeah. And I mean, sadly, Rob, like I say, Pip Larkin, who's messaged me today, and she's been on the show before and she's a fan of the show. She says she wants Sean Lloyd's and Michael Fisher's opinion on the weather tomorrow. Well, Pip, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of rain tomorrow and tonight. It's raining currently at Ascot, and I'm certain that they will get a fair amount tonight and a fair amount tomorrow. Our guess, I think, is around 12 mils. We're predicting 12 mils. Which, John, what if they got 12 mils by 2 p.m. tomorrow? What's the ground?
I think definitely the slow side are good. Definitely, at best.
Yeah. I think I mean, it's difficult, but I have to look the night before. I have to get up at crack of dawn again, and I'm going to handicap for good to soft. And I think that's probably the sensible scenario. I think I think you will not get this fast track. So that's changing the entire meeting and the dynamics of it, because we don't know. Now it's clear with that Clark, John, right? He loves to water after each day when there's no precipitation. He likes to mess. He likes to mess away. I know he does. He probably puts more on the stands rail, etc. So that's proven that those last couple of races today, that stands rail must dry out amazingly well, a lot better than any part of the track, because and that's patently evident today. So he's not going to water tonight. So should it stay the same, do you think?
Well, I certainly won't be backing anything for our side tomorrow.
No. So I think the only thing that you might want to change, I mean, that's the thing. I'm saying pace and high draws, but it might not be pace and high draws. They might end up riding like it's fast ground tomorrow on good to soft, and then everything just stops dead.
One good chillax ride from the back could turn things around, couldn't it?
Yeah. But like you say, so everything high tomorrow, folks. I think you've got to do that, because if you think about it, all things being equal, the Clark can't mess with the going, can't mess with the track where he's watering. So it's going to be an equal distribution from the good Lord above. And it should then remain the same, where the stand side again is heavily the place to be. So interesting then tomorrow. Right, we move on to our next question, and it's a good one actually. It's from John Hines, Mr. 101 on Twitter, an in-running player he is, knowledgeable chap. And he says, are the rules working, John? 6-day ban for Crowley for winning the on Marfeth, William Haggis's today. 2 days for Rab Havlin, and obviously Peter Crouch in the last the 5:35. He's going to get some. He's going to get some holiday time. So 3 winners and 3 bans. Is this right? Are the rules right, John?
No, they're not. I mean, Marfeth, even though that was probably the best horse in the race, for me that should have gone, because if Ryan Moore was much more impeded, he'd have been on the deck. And if he's carted off to hospital, what does that look like? You know, with Jim Crowley, to all intents and purposes, driving his horse into Ryan Mowers. I mean, whipping left hand. And I mean, he's got done for what? Top end of careless?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I've had this conversation several times already this year regarding to win at all costs. And I get both sides of the argument. And it's a real tough balancing act, because what you don't want is, and bearing in mind, John, I'd agree with you, like the rules, that things need to change. But it's the people that are making the decisions that aren't good enough to make these decisions, if you know what I mean. If you give them more power to chuck things out and say, right, well, you're gonna. I mean, we've seen what's happened in the past. We've had 7-length winners chucked out.
Like Royal Gate and things like that. I know. I mean, they're not good.
No.
But I just think the rules as they stand now just encourages dangerous riding. And
I'll agree. I'll agree with that. I'll not agree about chucking that Marfeth out. I mean, it's opinions, and obviously, listeners, you'll have your own views on it. Obviously, I say no. John says yes, but I do agree with John Hines, on the something needs to change really, and it comes back to that central stewarding panel that I'd like to see, i.e., a bit like VAR, but not VAR, because they're rubbish as well. Somewhere where you've got three professionals, maybe industry professionals, have to be racecourse stewards. Take it away from the idiot stewards, and basically make I mean, what annoys me, right? So that Jim Crowley on Mohamed today is 101 on Betfair, right? He's not going to get thrown out under the current guys, right? So why have they taken 14 minutes, like, to announce the result? I mean, you could look in 90 seconds, ban Jim, and let everyone move on. Now, until the rules change, you've got idiots they're they've no idea. So I think a central paneling of stewards each day to look at all meetings, sat in a booth. They don't need to be at a race course. They just watch the VT and go yay or nay in about 90 seconds. It's not hard. And all this interviewing jockeys rubbish. That's a load of rubbish as well. What do you need to interview jockeys for? You can see with technology these days. So there's a lot of improvements can be made. The problem is it's down to the BHA again. It's a society riddled with fools.
Yeah, well, they don't get their hands around anything, do they? That's the problem with the BHA.
No.
You just want to go coasting along, upsetting nobody, and certainly not regulating the sport properly.
But let's be right, John. If me and you were jockeys, right, under the current rules, because we're competitive, both of us, and it's like under current rules, if you especially back yours, you're barging me out of way, and you don't give a.
Oh, you're going through the railings, I didn't give a shite. You were on jumps cars.
I'm there. I could just see it at Lingfield Park on turf, and you knocked me off at course, and I'm sat on Birch Fence.
Yeah. Wouldn't even look back.
Yeah, exactly. So we're kind of proving to everyone here that the rules do need to change, because in some capacity, the problem is you give them too much power and you get complete idiot reversals, and then that's not good for the game when the punters are being robbed out of something that shouldn't have got chucked because they're not intelligent enough to make the right call. Again, this is it. It's a tough one. But John, yes. Anyway, we'll move on. We could fill a show with that one, I think. Right, Ian Davis been on, and he'll be bouncing today after Mohafeth. I've got a feeling. In fact, he said he's bought enough pate and Krug for the year. I think after today's Mohafeth win, he says on Twitter. But he says last year's winner and third in the Derby, John, finished 8th and 11th of 12 in today's Gold Cup. Yeah. Have we been transported back to the 19th century when the Ascot race was the pinnacle of flat racing? Or was last year's Derby, closely followed by this year's, the farce of the century?
Well, I think if we had been transported back to the 19th century, it would have been a very sad sight to have seen the lads trying to win a pair of fighting cocks off Lord Zetland in the Gold Cup rather than a bit of prize money. But I would have to agree entirely that last year's Derby now is looking absolutely dire. I mean, that was, as we discussed at dinner time, for me, that was the only hope for certain time today, that he might prove to be all about stamina, given that he did keep on in the Derby. I think he was spent after 1.6 miles, possibly 2 miles. He certainly didn't say the last half mile out. Where the hell you would go with him after that, unless it was maybe the Supreme Novices, I do not know.
It's difficult because it's hard to make a case as a sire, really. I think I don't know what they're going to do with that. Might end up like Mongrel and Japan running in future Hardwicks and stuff like that.
Well, somebody said on Twitter, what would you do with certain time? I just said contact a taxidermist. He appears to be no longer with us.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not. I love it when the Derby works out. The Derby for me is that's the race, the Derby. I want to see it. I love it when you get a Guineas winner go Derby, then Eclipse, and that I'm buzzing when that happens. And we've not had that now for a good one anyway for a good while.
I think it's going to be a long while before you see Aiden just run one in a Derby as well. After that last time, I think that was quite pivotal as well. I don't think we'll see him going into the Derby single-handed unless he's got a real cracker jack. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. It's been a bit of a barren season really for Ballydoyle. There'll be some questions being asked, I think.
Yeah, he's got some mince there, hasn't he? By the look of things.
Well, barring the Hawks winner. He's
high definition is going to be carrying a lot of hopes in the Irish Derby.
Yeah, absolutely. At least the track will suit the Irish Derby. For high definition.
Yeah.
but he might need 3 pacemakers.
I think,
Something
well,
like
if things don't pick up, Aiden might need a pacemaker fitting. He's starting to gabble a bit, isn't he, in these interviews, and he actually tolerated Chapman singing "All You Need Is Love" yesterday when he was interviewing him. So
yeah.
Aiden's probably not far off chewing the corner of the carpet.
Beyond
the wax fruit.
Yeah, can't beat the wax fruit.
Yeah, straight jacket on. Have a wax up, we'll shut you up.
Right, next question. Carl Swanson says, question, guys, have a lot of the top table jockeys forgot how to ride Ascot this week? Well, I don't know. I think if you're drawn low, it doesn't matter how you ride. Or drawn in the centre, anyway. If you're drawn centre, you might as well just,
Yeah, if he's down up the middle, you might as well get off and carry the bastard.
Yeah.
All the good it is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, is there a way to ride Ascot at the minute, other than get out and bag the near rail?
Well, not this week, but I mean, the surprising thing to most, and the Twitterati shrewds and the Twitterati punters were screaming at everyone, saying, "Why aren't they going stands rail? Why aren't they going stands rail?" It took them ages to realise. Like we said, we covered it in yesterday's show. The trainers and jocks.
Well, that's it. Even them that stood there watching, they're just standing there like blowfish, weren't they?
Incredible, really.
Yeah.
No one had foresight to think, well, hang on a minute, this is looking a bit favourable right now.
These are the pinnacle of our sport. These are the elite professionals that leave no stone unturned in their quest for winners. And they couldn't even work out there's a really half-furlong track bias.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on. Right, so Jay on Twitter says, following your SDF rant yesterday, is James the Doiler Doyle just as bad, if not worse? Thoughts on the Noon Star ride, John?
Well, to be honest, I don't necessarily think it was James Doyle's fault. I mean, I mentioned this on Twitter when he was jocked up, and I said, well, this is Noon Star's 4th jockey, I think, in 5 runs. And for a king going filly, I thought that was utter stupidity. In all honesty, I mean, she'd done enough for King's Cut last time, but I thought familiar hands would have been a lot better than a fresh pair of hands, especially at a place like this where they can get a bit buzzed up going under that walkway and all such as that, And to me, when the race started, she jumped straight into his hands and was doing plenty. I don't necessarily think a mile and a half suits her. I think she could prove to be better at a mile and a quarter, certainly this year. But, I mean, Doyle's not riding regular for anybody, is he? So, I mean, he doesn't have the advantage of being a stable jockey and getting to know people's horses, which I do think assists a jockey to a great extent. Not as much as I think it helps a trainer to have a regular jockey. I mean, if you're a good enough size stable, a second jockey as well. But, I do think that the Doyler is probably in a tougher position than Sill at the minute, because for the time being, Sill's King Power's go-to man, isn't he? But how long that lasts is anybody's guess. There was one at handicaps today. I think King Power doing a solo middle as though it went past the post. I thought, oh Christ, Sill, what are you doing, son? I mean, that's not knowing whether he wants a shit or a haircut, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I do think Doyler's on the downgrade big time. I've thought that for a bit. That's not just after today or any of the... He's been on my list on the downgrade for a while now. Christopher's using him. I don't know why. He's getting very average. I mean, what do you think to Sir Michael Stout then, John? I mean, we keep saying, is this the last season? Could there be another season?
It's looking like the last season's getting a lot closer, isn't it? To say the least. I mean, it's not long since you'd come to Ascot thinking, what price is he to be top trainer? How many winners do you think he'll have? Now you come to Ascot thinking, I wonder if he'll snake one.
Yeah, exactly that.
And I think that's where he's at now, and I think it's a shame. But, there's probably a lot of old staff aren't there now. He's lost his missus. It's just what happens, isn't it? It's evolution.
Yeah, old Mikey Olding in the top hat today, turning up at ATR. I'm thinking that's the tip in itself. Everyone's thinking he's come for a stout winner. He's come for a stout winner as Mike.
I'm sure he's probably brought him along there expecting no star to go really close. And it's not happened for him because either they or Judd want to change the jockey. She's done so much, but he used to bring 18 or 20 to this meeting and they'd run well, you knew he was going to bring it. But now he's thinking, well, what's going to be the problem with this? And half the time, the minute you look and you see a potential problem, it happens, The yard's not in a good place for me.
No, I don't like to see it. I don't like to see a top man like Stout just not competing at the top table. It's disappointing to see. Anyway, we'll go through day three's results now. We'll start off with the Norfolk Stakes Group 2 affair. Perfect Power winning for the absolute blitzing in stable form Richard Fay. That actually did come from behind, but they went absolutely bananados with the Wesley Ward. That did go too hard. That was doing firecracker fractions. John, did you have any view on this? Like anything catch your eye? Or?
I just thought Go Bears Go, that led all the way on the far side, was probably the one to take out the race.
Yeah.
But again, I'm struggling to give these 2-year-olds much of a rating, to be honest.
I agree. I don't think. I mean, it's a bit worrying. I mean, normally, sometimes at least 1 2-year-old race, we'll see like a champion, a future champion. There'll maybe even be Guinness quotes, for something that's won.
We need Aidan to unleash something in the Chesham that wins 7 or 8 lengths, I think, because up to press, this is desperate.
I mean, I know it was on the favoured stand side, but if you back to Project Dante today, I think you're a bit unlucky because that horse missed the kick slightly. Just was on the back foot early, and he had obviously the favoured stand side, so I'm not bigging it up too much, but definitely if that pings the lids,
probably should have won on the day. Yeah,
Project Dante would have won the race. It's just that obviously you can't upgrade it because it's right down that stands rail. So not saying too much about the Norfolk me and job. Then we go on to the Hampton Court Mohafeth. Obviously, Ian Davis bouncing up and down. Probably still bouncing up and down. John, thoughts on the...
He's maybe got somebody bouncing up and down on him by now. He's won that much. I think probably the most improved performance in the race was probably Moving Time. I think it's outrun its rating and shows it's still got a future. But overall, I think Mohafeth has just run to its rating there, really.
Yeah, well, I'm going to probably upset Ian now because he'll probably listen to this now. He'll be sat with his Pat Pate and Krug, and he'll be expecting glowing reviews here. And I'm not glowing reviews because they went bananas. And Moving Time was the one being keen, sort of bit wide, got bumped, early on. And I thought outran its odds. I thought, like you said, Moving Time is the one to take from the race.
Yeah, it was short, but it was short because the factored in as though it had already improved, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. I couldn't back it because, like you said, the price was already on the progression happening. Yeah. Well, it did progress because the thing is, had things gone better for it, it probably would have gone close. It was choke out. It was too handy. They went bananas. Mohafeth had the run of the race. I get live sectionals. I looked at the times, and Mohafeth basically was in the ideal position. It was quite efficient in terms of what happened in the race. So I can't upgrade my half of the pound on that performance, and I'm not sure I particularly like the hanging right. But then a couple have done that today. Maybe they're hanging towards a better ground, maybe because the centre's sloppy. And they always say horses, can feel where the ground's better. So the near lead and the off lead, and they probably feel it that it's a bit quicker towards that rail, and that's why they're hanging that way. I don't know. That's what someone told me once. I don't know if that's a load of bollocks, but
possible.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, Surefire did that later on in the card as well, the same as Mahafa, hung that way, and he's never done that before.
No.
Anyway, so we go on to the so moving time is the eye catcher for me and John. And sorry, Ian, but Mahafa, that's what he is. I don't see him better than that. That whatever rating you put on that, that's him. And you can probably make me eat my words in the eclipse. The Ribblesdale, very well backed winner actually. Very of John and Thaddeus, 40s into 18s. Loving Dream, the winner, John.
I think they must have backed it because they know they've got a Park Hill horse. I think. I think it just probably saw the race out better than most. I think there are plenty of non-stayers in the race. This thing's out of Sadler's Wells. Grand Dam, I think. The Sadler's Wells certainly on the dam side somewhere. I think she'd probably get a mile 6. That's where I'd be going next to Park Hill. Nishad has continued the upward curve, run all right. I think the rest haven't covered themselves in glory at all. I definitely want to see Known Star drop back to 10. Gloria Monday was so keen. The rest didn't look shit, really, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I'm bouncing here because Eshada's my eye catcher of the day. I think she's the pace wasn't that great in this, so I was very disappointed in the kilts. The kilts capitulated, she's just not in any kind of form whatsoever. She hung a little bit, didn't like the kilts at all. Dubai Fountain, Noon Star did too much, but Eshada was basically out the back and the only one really to come from that far back and really make a proper race of it. And Eshada, for me, is the best filly out of that. And I can't wait to see where they go next with her because I think she'll improve from it. Obviously, they think the other filly that ran in the Oaks is better than Eshada because Eshada would have probably turned up in the Oaks. So maybe it's a tip for that one as well. So I like the Varian and Sheikh Hamdan fillies. Eshada and the one that ran in the Oaks maybe to come out and do big things later in the year. But I certainly like that performance today. We move on to the Gold Cup where I did my complete bollocks, John. I was laying Flapper Joe all the way around. I thought they'd gone a little bit hard. It looked very generous, the pace to me, and obviously the other pace, Amran Biffen, that was tailed off. And I cannot crab this performance at all. Subjectivist made me pay out plenty. I ate my words, and I cannot fault the performance in one iota. This is a new champion.
He's easily hit his mark, hasn't he? Probably with scope to improve.
Yeah,
£7 or £8, really. Which would put him up there with Stradivarius, his current rating. Sad as it may seem, it looks like the kilt's got one.
Yeah, I think this beats this. If they meet again in Goodwood Cup, for example, if that's the next Porter Cup, I would have the lot on Subjectivist to beat Stradivarius.
Strad's 11 at 4, isn't he? It's mate.
Yeah, Strad's gone for me. I'll tell you why I think Strad's gone. Because everyone's moaning about Dettori and getting hampered, blah, blah, blah. If Strad had been in any kind of form on this day, it might have just been below form, but he would have got past Spanish Mission and Princess Zoe. Simple as. He was, he would have enough class to get past. Put it this way, Subjectivist wasn't in race. You're not saying Stradivarius is an unlucky loser. He's basically saying, well, he couldn't get past Princess Zoe and Spanish Mission. You know, I know it hasn't panned out, and I know people say, well, yeah, but it'd have been 3 or 4 lengths. He'd have beat them otherwise. But Strad has took care of them anyway. I think, like at his best, and I don't see that were his best today, and I'd have my doubts going forwards whether he can reproduce what he used to do, because I just thought his foot was rather lacking today. So yeah, despite getting hampered, that's my view. Subjectivist is the new champ, and I would have the lot on. If there are similar prices, Subjectivist will beat Stradivarius again next time at Goodwood, in my view. Britannia, John, you were seething because I know you had a couple of bets.
I had 2 large bets. I'd already backed Dino. Actually, I backed Dino on Tuesday for this, and then when cooler heads prevailed this afternoon, I ended up backing Liffey River to win a nice bit, and Quintilis at 40 odd to win plenty. And 2 furlongs out, I thought I was getting plenty because Quintilis come there as it was on the snap. Now, whether it didn't stay or whether it dogged it, I don't know, but it was rather galling to getting beaten by Marcus Triconi, who has a nasty, nasty habit of doing that to me when I'm on at good odds. But there you go.
Yeah, I mean, again, the stand side. I mean, they went so hard in this. No wonder that the held up runners, like come to the fore on the stand side, because the fractions were just lung busting. And like you say, it just you got beat by circumstances. Unfortunately for me, my bet was on the far side. And like all good place bets, I had a 6th place bet. And where did it come? 7. Carder. That. And after doing your bollocks in Gold Cup, John, that was like rubbing salt on a blister, on an open blister.
Especially when it's the kilt training it for you as well. After you've just had to watch him win the Gold Cup through gritted teeth, and then he comes back and gives you a knackersack a good old twist.
Absolutely.
Typical of the man, really.
The kilt, I know. We all fall foul of the kilt. 535 Ascot. This is right. So I'm amazed that I actually won this, because where my day was going, I'm thinking, this is not my meeting. It's obviously I backed the winner, put it out in the morning, and yeah, I had a good bet at 8. It was nice, but I mean, it managed to take off the field act before winning. What? Any thoughts on this? Surefire?
It's probably a Melrosey type horse, isn't it? It's a saddle as well as mare. Seems to stay really well. You could maybe say Sir Lamorak possibly should have won. I don't know. Ryan was well out the back, wasn't he? And I mean, he just seemed to have this stencil that he rides around course at Ascot too, and he's invariably in trouble turning in, but on the whole, it was a sort of result where you could have half expected it. Though the front 2 in the betting, weren't they? Was probably just a so what sort of race, really. I don't think anything's really nutted its rating or anything.
No, I mean, I do think Surefire will progress, because I do think the stamina in the Dams family, and he's a fine physical specimen, a real fine sort. And so I think he'll improve, but I don't know. I was a bit lucky today because the youngin possibly hampered some others. I'd have to watch it back properly to get a full feedback on that. But yeah, I was pleased that one. I didn't expect it because I wasn't having the best of times, but it was very, very welcome. Buckingham Palace handicap, John. Any view here? I feel Princess just did a Wesley Ward and blitzed them all down Stanfield.
Well, what can you say? It was just either an awesome performance or not the best performance you've ever seen from a clerk of the course in your life. Really, I mean, this is just a bit sickening, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
I'm kind of pleased with John Quinn. He's probably up there with Gavin Cromwell as people you wouldn't think entirely likely to have a winner at the Royal meeting, but he's a good, solid Northern trainer. It's nice that he's had a win. But, I mean, where the hell are you going with it? That sort of race sort of form? There's sirens going up as usual. Favourite's probably a nice horse that's missed the kick completely early on. Ended up finishing 5th for all H-way backers.
Yeah.
That's run our race.
Okay, right. So we've covered off today pretty well. I feel some interesting insights for you there and opinion. On to tomorrow, John. I'm not going to go race by race because I think we've got our views might change come the weather in the morning and stuff like. It's very difficult tipping.
Yeah.
But is there anything that stands out for you tomorrow?
Well, I've got my big bet on the Haggis horse in the Sandringham.
Right, I'll tell you what then, because I like this one, and I think we should make it a Barstewards special. Do you agree?
Well, I have no complaints about that because
that's it then.
I'm sticking with this.
Yeah, we've got it. We've done it. 20. I mean, we've even landed the draw. We've even, we've landed in a Buckinghamshire gin. And companionship. William Haggis, 28-1 is available. Holly Doyle, the poster girl, the brilliant jockey of our time. Holly Doyle on board. Companionship for reasons that John has highlighted before, and he said basically this horse, it beat Quinn Eldor. Quinn Eldor won off 80 at Goodwood, bolted up, and the reasoning being that Haggis sent this straight for a listed race. Now this horse was rated 81. Simply as Haggis could have gone for any handicap like he does, and yet he didn't. It went off 6-1. Ryan Moore was on. This is it. This could be absolutely thrown off 81. There's a bit of guesswork because you have to do that. But William Haggis is no idiot, as we know. He's probably the second best trainer in the land right now, maybe the best. And I honestly believe that this filly's got a lot more to come. The ground will be no problem, I don't think. I think Goods Are Soft will be perfectly fine. And Galileo, no problem whatsoever with the ground. Well drawn. That's
the best 8-stone jockey in Europe probably.
Yeah, and I mean this is good stuff. This is really, really good stuff. I really feel good about this tomorrow. Companionship in the Sandringham is a Barstewards special, and check our Twitter page tomorrow because we will have our other thoughts and bets. It's very difficult to do it at this time because obviously we don't know the exact conditions. We try and predict, but we don't know. So it's better just to check around mid-morning, just to check what we're doing, what we're fancying, and it's a good little help for you throughout the day. And any thoughts or if I think there's a bias or anything, I'll let you know. So that's a good way to finish the show. A Barstewards special, companionship in the Sandringham tomorrow. Don't miss us again tomorrow for the day 4 review on
the
Friday.
Inquest.
For the inquest, we chew the fat and we sit. We do not sit on the fence like other podcasts. We do not sit on the fence. That's all from me and John tonight. Have a great evening, and hopefully tomorrow's lucky for you. Bye for now.